So welcome to Series 4, Episode 1 of Entangled Discussions, where today we explore our global community, starting with Africa. So as we've discussed many times here, the second quantum revolution is such a huge body of work, and we need everybody, indeed every mind, that is willing and able to work together and pull us forward. There can be a tendency, however, to focus attention on the same areas. So today we're lucky to have two fascinating guests who are perfectly placed to help us dive into the current state of play and future evolution of quantum technologies in Africa, and offer some important observations on how to find a unity of purpose. So today, with so much to cover in this talk, it's a real pleasure to introduce two guests as bright, knowledgeable, and enthusiastic and passionate as Sahar Ben Rached and Farai Mazhandu.
Hi, John. Hi, everyone.
Hi, John. Hi, everyone. Thank you for asking me to be here.
And just a small piece of housekeeping before we start. So we're interactive today. So please use the comment section to join in and entangle with the conversation and our guests. We can invite you to take the mic or read the questions as you prefer. Please also be aware this video will be uploaded to YouTube and shared on LinkedIn and other social media channels. But as always, I think one of the fascinating things is the people behind the talk. So if we can start off by hearing a little more about each of you and your backgrounds and your journey so far. Sahar, if you'd like to go first.
Sure. Thank you, John. And thank you so much for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to join Entangled Discussions and to talk about the initiatives in Africa in order to enhance the skills of everyone who would like to join the quantum revolution, and also to talk about our work, Farai and I, about quantum building, quantum community building in our countries and across Africa in general. So to introduce myself, my name is Sahar bin Rached. I am originally from Tunisia, and I'm a research student in nanotechnology at the University of Tunis Manar in Tunisia. And I'm currently doing my master thesis at Karlsruhe Institute of Technology in Germany. And I'm actually a quantum computing intern. So I'm actually one of the persons that are really interested in joining quantum computing and considering it as a career for myself. So I'm also the co-founder of Q Tunisia, which is the first quantum computing community in Tunisia. So we work on launching workshops in different levels to introduce everyone who is interested in quantum computing. So we teach them the skills, the technical skills that are needed in quantum information science and quantum programming. And we also have meetups, and we also introduce different applications of quantum technologies and quantum computation by organizing talks with experts in the fields. And Q Tunisia is affiliated to Q World, the international network of researchers and engineers and developers in quantum technologies. Thank you.
Thank you, Sahar. And Farai, if you can also tell us a little bit more about your journey to here.
Thank you very much, John, and thank you very much, everyone, for joining. So my name is Farai Mazhandu. I'm joining this call from Plumtree in Zimbabwe. I did an MSc in physics and was lucky to have been involved in experimental quantum physics. So I worked on hardware, you would say. We were looking at how we can, enhance, diamond that is now made in the lab. For some of you may have heard now companies like Element 6, which is a company out of De Beers. It does, produce diamonds in the lab, and it is those kind of diamonds that you can, enhance their properties to use them for quantum information processing and to use them for sensing and many other, applications. So I was at the University of Wits in South Africa, and it was when I was at Wits that I started, getting exposed to the field of quantum computing. Back then, the community wasn't as big as we see now. It was a small space, but I also started, using quantum computers on the cloud, the ones that have been made available by IBM. And by the time I got to end of 2019, I had participated in a quantum summer school. I went for a hackathon, a Qiskit hackathon, which was one of the hackathons that were hosted in South Africa, and Sahar also attended. So it was a great community initiative that brought people in Africa together. And some of the work that I had been doing at MSc, which was to explore NV centers in Diamond for quantum information processing. We began to work on that work to try and interface Qiskit to some quantum hardware based on spin qubits. So it's actually work that is still ongoing, that has expanded in scope. But we came up as first run-ups at that hackathon, and ever since then, one thing led to another. Even though the world came to a standstill due to COVID, I began to be more involved in community building to make this opportunity real for more people in Africa, to bring people in Africa together, to learn about each other, to collaborate, to exchange ideas on how we can work together, where we need to, we can share skills, we can also collaborate with the global community in quantum to just make this opportunity real for people in Africa, and to also allow contributions from the continent to happen, to show people how that can be done. I've also been fortunate to work in quantum ecosystem data and advisory through. I've been mentored by Andre M. Koenig. He's originally from Germany, but he now is based in Miami. So he's also the chairman for One Quantum. And this is how we also began to build a quantum computing, quantum technology community in Africa. So yeah, that's a bit of my journey. And thank you once again, John, for the opportunity.
And I think it's really nice was the work that you've been doing on the community building side, and also obviously coming from a technical background. I think for these sorts of interactive talks, that makes you guys pretty much the perfect guests. So if we can if we can sort of start off with something that we've kind of alluded to, but really sort of zoom in a little bit more on that. Where do you see the current situation regarding quantum development in Africa? Sahar, if you'd like to go on that one.
Yes. I would say that currently quantum technologies development is basically in labs in all countries. For example, in Tunisia, in North Africa in general, we can see so many initiatives and projects that are launched in different labs. So I can, for example, speak of my lab in Tunisia. We have actually started a unit cell in our lab at the molecular and atomic applications and for spectroscopy. We are actually starting to see the applications and the potential of using quantum computers for simulations of atomic environments and atomic interactions. So for this, we are actually starting to see how we can link quantum computation and the potential of quantum computers, especially with the access that we have currently with IBM quantum computers. And we see how we can use such a potential machine for our applications and research works. So many other labs across Tunisia are also experimenting with quantum algorithms and also seeing how they can link their project works and their research labs to what we have as access to the quantum machines, especially with IBM. So the other initiatives in other countries, mainly Egypt and Morocco, are also launching their unit cells across many labs to see also how they can contribute to the research and development of quantum computation in general. And actually, quantum computing, even though it is new, we have seen so many initiatives coming over the years. So we can see that some labs even started a few years ago. And the extension to quantum technologies in general is also actually explored or have been explored since so many years in African countries. And even though we have many countries that are advancing more than others across Africa, we can see that some contributions are really valuable to the development of the technology, even on an international level. So I would say that in terms of research, we have quite an interesting advancement that we can discuss and we can introduce as a valuable contribution to quantum technologies in general. But there's still like some kind of gap between the industry and the research labs. So even though in our research labs, we have some work that is currently being done, we still need to see the applications, and we need to see industries taking advantage of these research results, and we can have applications of quantum technologies being used for commercial products. So this is actually what we want to discuss, for example, Farai and I, in our videocast series, of how we can link the great work that is currently being done in many labs across Africa, and how we can use such results and such work to advance the industry and the development of startups, for example, and companies, how they can take advantage of the work of the labs for commercial products. So currently we are really advancing and trying to do our best to do research work related to quantum technologies, but there is still some work to be done in terms of development in the industries.
And I think that's a common theme across quantum. So it's great that that we've all sort of got a synergy with those sorts of challenges. And Farai, if we can hear your thoughts again, around the sort of the state of play and evolution of quantum within Africa from your vantage point.
Thank you very much, John. It's a very important question. So it really rides on the reason why we needed to build a community, and why the work to build a community has been so exciting. What we have learned, first of all, is that Africa has got so much, distributed strength in this field of quantum technology. So there are experts who are working in quantum in the various labs, and Sahar has given us a good picture of what happens in North Africa. So looking at things from the southern end of the continent, South Africa is obviously a big player in the space. And not only that, the Center of Quantum Technology at the University of KwaZulu-Natal has produced quite a lot of graduates we have filtered across the continent, in Malawi, in Rwanda, in Ghana, in Botswana, back here where I am in Zimbabwe. So there's this whole, a group of people who are scattered across the continent who are experts in one area or another of quantum tech. And it is these people that we are now bringing together under the One Quantum Africa community, so that they can learn from each other, so that they can, they can collaborate. So it has been very important to just bring to light the talent that we have in the continent, to also bring, the experts in quantum in the continent. Like you have already seen, we've got, these people in different countries, and it's important to bring them together and even learn about the work that they're doing, which is not something that would naturally occur without effort. So this community initiative that we have set up has managed to do that to some extent. Obviously, there's a long way to go, and we like Sahar mentioned, we're working very hard to make sure that we, encourage these conversations. We reach out to the experts in the continent. We, we want to share their story, because we want people in Africa to know that when they hear, the global community talking about quantum, it's not something that we are so far away from being able to influence, and our, space to contribute is really there, and we have that capacity as well. Not only that, so what has been happening in Africa is that there are two approaches that I think I'm seeing taking effects. One is your awareness, where we engage the whole community broadly, and we educate society about quantum. so that all the important stakeholders who could be in government, in business, it could be on the consumer end of things, and those who are getting into academia are just aware of quantum technologies at a high level. Then for those who need to develop the proficiency, I think Sahar gave us a good overview of what has been happening in research. Universities through departments, for example, I come from a department where we worked on quantum information processing using diamond, that's in hardware. Sahar is in a nanotechnology lab. They've even gone further to do some simulation work on the IBM Q platform, which is very important. I'm aware that there is the efforts in Rwanda, which, however, are embedding, quantum in data science, which could be a field, closely related to quantum machine learning. And so these are the small things that are happening. So people are really aware, or they are getting much more aware of quantum. They are taking practical steps to contribute, to develop, skills. We've got a community where we're having a conversation to see how to move quantum forward in the continent. And perhaps just in conclusion, we hosted a Quantum in Africa Summit in May 12 and 13. Very successful, supported by international companies like Honeywell. And, we had the speakers like Robert Suter from IBM, and also experts from the continent. So I think it allowed us to learn more about quantum in the continent, to, reach out broadly and say, this is our opportunity. It's our time to also be part of this revolution and lead. And we also showed that we are connected to the global community. We can also learn in terms of what are the best ideas, what are the best practices in the field, what are the best collaborations that we can do, and we can also contribute to the highest level because we are connected to that global community as we speak. So we also even have startups. I wanted to mention we have a startup. Personally, I've co-founded a startup, which is headquartered in South Africa, and there are a number. What we see in the startup space is that, for example, I was reading a report which has shown that the amount of capital that is flowing into startups in Africa has grown so much, such that the capital raised in 2019 and 2018 combined has been doubled in 2020 where we are, in 2021 where we are. And this shows you that there is a lot of development, especially in fintech. Our community in Africa is more of micro. It's a microeconomic environment, which is not the way the world measures, GDP and outputs. Our economies are where the individual families, are the ones that are a very important part of the economy. So it's a lot of this informal. It's an informal economy, if you want, in Africa. And this is why aspects like mobile money transfers have taken off and in a big way. So all these startups have got aspects of optimization. They need to be capable to process a lot of information. There are big data problems. There's a need for speed up. And if all these things are areas where quantum can make a difference, then yes, we've got an ecosystem in Africa where startups can take root as well. And we are seeing those things happening. So I guess at a high level, these are the other things that I could talk about to add on top of what Sahar mentioned. And I'll be happy to expand on any areas of interest if in case, we think it's important to talk about those things.
And I think just to follow on, I think the work you're doing with One Quantum Africa, for those of you that aren't aware, I'd highly recommend getting involved. I think the desire and interest and intellect that I experience from it is fantastic and so encouraging. And I think to sort of one of the things that you mentioned, Farai, was about looking to advance in unity and draw all of the sort of different strands together. And Sahar, I'd love to hear a little bit more about if how you think that's being implemented, where your maybe successes are and where the challenges are to sort of pull all of these different stakeholders together across the continents. Sahar?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Lost you for a few minutes.
Sorry,
Yeah, sorry for that. So you're asking me about the joint efforts between the initiatives in Africa and how we can do that, the challenges.
So there's sort of so many different stakeholders, from whether it be nations, academia, industry, different businesses, or sort of startups, different technologies, different skill sets. And I know with the work that you've been doing with sort of Q-Tunisia and One Quantum Africa, it's a big theme is trying to pull all of these different strands together. And how do you see that going? Where are your sort of the big successes or the challenges, and what stage are we at?
So regarding quantum computing and quantum technologies in general, it is basically like the development of any other high-tech or new technology. So it actually starts with proving the potential of the technology, and that always happens in labs. And then we can see scientists and raising awareness about the importance of this technology and what are the use cases and how we can benefit from its huge potential for applications in products. And we encourage startups and we encourage investors to fund such initiatives and to really push forward for the development of the technology. And then we can see the market adapting to the products that are being produced. And then we see how this technology can really impact the society and the economy afterwards. So actually, since we are now in contact, let's say, and we have been seeing the initiatives currently being developed across countries, and we are in contact with the experts who are really enthusiastic and see the potential of quantum computation in, I would say, the enhancement of the product and the methods and the procedures that we can of course push forward with the industries afterwards. And we want actually to raise awareness about this technology and to really make it known for everyone that we can, as Africans, join the quantum revolution from its early stage and not be left behind within a few years. And we have to trust ourselves that we can rely on our resources. We have the right potential, we have the right skills, we have what we need in terms of human resources, and even our educational system is actually adapting. We can see so many programs being launched across universities in Africa to teach quantum information science and quantum programming since now, because we know that in a few years the job market will be demanding of such skills and of such workforce. So it's actually moving forward. We can see so many promising things that will be happening in Africa within a few years. And the point that we want to focus on is that we can actually move together. So instead of individual efforts, and what I mean by individual is that national efforts, actually. We can see, for example, Tunisia launching its program, for example, for quantum education in many universities in Tunisia, especially in engineering schools and research programs like the nanotechnology program that I'm in. And for example, we can see also Morocco launching many programs in labs and universities. Same thing for Egypt, same thing for South Africa. And we want to focus on joining this effort for collaborative projects and for cooperation programs in order to work on big projects that would actually need much more funding than one country can handle. And we can also, join the efforts of engineers and researchers from many countries in order to work on big projects that will have actually an impact on a national scale. So we are aware of this point, okay, and we are actually joining, for example, in Tunisia, we have already had exchanges with the University of Alexandria in Egypt, and we have the ambition to work on a joint projects in the future. So we can see that the universities are actually being aware of the importance of such programs, and we can see the labs actually looking forward for collaboration projects, and discussions have already started. And we will see that some projects will be the fruit of such discussions and cooperations. And we can see that this is starting, for example, between Tunisia and Egypt, and eventually it will be extended, for example, across North Africa and also South Africa, also the southern side of Africa, because we know that, for example, a country like South Africa is leading the quantum science and technologies across the country, but also internationally. So I would say that I'm very, let's say, enthusiastic, and I'm very, I would say, okay, how can I say this? So I'm actually believing in that the cooperations and the collaborations are coming, okay, and discussions have already started, and we will see that so many initiatives will be now launched across the countries in Africa. But for the national programs, I would say, like in South Africa, that would be a very ambitious project, for example, to see that really governments are aware of such potential of the technology and actually ready to invest in it in terms of skill development, but also funding startups that are willing to investigate the potential of quantum technologies in their products. And this is one of the initiatives that will be successful and will be very important in such countries to believe that they can use this technology for their own profit, and they will make actually great products and great methods that will be important on an international level. And I hope to see so many other countries doing the exact same thing, okay? Although that depends on so many factors, of course. So if it is already launched in South Africa, we don't know what's the next country to do the exact same thing. Although I am one of the people that I really want to see that happening, and I'm actually doing my part in raising awareness about the importance of starting investing in quantum technologies and quantum computation since now, so that we can be ready within a few years and we can say that we are one of the leading regions that is contributing to this technology on an international level, and not to just wake up one day and see that, well, this is actually moving too fast that we cannot adapt, and eventually we'll be just consumers instead of taking an active part of developing this technology.
And looking at the chat, there's a lot of support for those ideas, and it is great to hear that sort of integration and collaboration coming together to empower the human capital, because that's what the fundamental aspect of making things happen is getting the people equipped and motivated for that. And I think on that topic as well, Madhu has raised a question in the chat. So Madhu, if you'd like to join and ask, or if not, I can read the question. So Madhu's point was that it's such a huge task, and how do we normalize the quantum education within universities that may be lacking funding awareness? How does that become normalized? Farai, if you'd like to help us out.
Sure, that's a very important question. So it coincidentally, we asked about this when I think about a week or so ago, we were at one Quantum Africa weekly calls. We had Justin Perron from the California State University, San Marcos. They recently hosted a workshop, which was to investigate what can be done to, educate quantum. And he happens to be part of a, community university, which is not, which is also perhaps in the bracket of financially constrained, education centers in the US. So a lot of the things that he shared are very much, we can relate them very much to what is happening in Africa. So the idea is to take the first move, and I think this has always been what I think has to happen. Yes, we want to end up at a point where we can finance the quantum hardware and perhaps build a quantum computer in Africa, but that may not be something that we think is feasible in the short term, right? So what do you do? You look at your circumstances and what you can do. And we've got what I would call a happy coincidence that quantum seems to have taken off with the open, open platforms for software. We also have got, quantum hardware devices available on the cloud. So our excuses are really, should be far and few between, because we can contribute. As long as we've got an internet connection, we can begin to contribute and take advantage of these resources. For example, that meeting we had, a lot of resources were shared about how we can begin to think about introducing quantum into education. And most of them are framed around, low-cost ideas on how to do that. Very low, low cost on ramps and off ramps that allow people to get into quantum and eventually get out, but with the maximum skills that are required by the industry. And in that workshop that Justin was sharing outputs of, there were also people from industry. So they even shared about the skills that they are looking for. And I think even in our other meeting, Johnny will be aware at Quantum London, Sahar, who is also a co-founder at Polaris, he mentioned what they look at when they're hiring. And those are not very difficult requirements to fulfill, because for most of the part, you can be doing a lot of work on your own online using resources that are available for free. So to answer the question on funding, I think at some point, yes, our research will have to be funded in order to reach more people, to develop, and deeper skills and all that. But let's start where we are with what we have. Because governments usually move later on. They are not people that are easy to convince to say quantum tech is a technology of the future, very important. Let's bring money and be prepared for this. It's not that easy a conversation. But what I think we have to do is to take first moves. Let's do what we can with what we have. Let's take maximum advantage of the platforms and the resources that we have, and show that we know what we are doing and we know, where we are going. Then yes, government and industry will follow. So I think it's always the story. So whenever this aspect of funding arises, I get a bit, a bit disoriented, because I don't think it's the main point. The main point is, what are we doing with the things that are there, which shows that we deserve to, government should pay attention. We need funding. For what? What have we done? So I think that is how I will answer that one quickly. I don't know if you will allow me to pick quickly on what Chris was asking on, to what degree are private sector companies active in quantum in Africa? That is IBM, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and others. We reach out to them, and I'm sure they are very much aware of our effort in Africa. We always need partners to help us to do this. And excuse me, these companies have been hiring from Africa in machine learning, in data science, and they are aware of the capabilities in terms of African skill and the importance of the African talent, this whole aspect of diversity. It needs people to be given internships. It needs people to be given jobs. Let's see people from Africa thriving. That's how we encourage all the young people in the continent to participate and realize this is an important opportunity where they are not only welcome, but they've got room to contribute. They are going to be supported to succeed. So we are reaching out to them every now and then. We haven't seen anything tangible beyond what IBM did with the Q-Skid Hackathon and the other initiatives they have in South Africa through VSQ, which I think recently became an integral part of the WITS University, but we have to see more. I think, yes, they host events, on platforms. They have a summer school coming, quantum machine learning. They've been trying to support more people from Africa, but I guess a lot more has to happen. So for Google, Amazon, they are aware of our work that I can attest to very well, but we haven't seen any tangible support from their communities. We hope to see it, and we want them to know, even if through this platform, that we are always open to hear their ideas, their concerns. We want them to learn about the talent in the continent to help grow it. It will also benefit them. It will benefit the broader society, and it will be in their interest to get involved. And we're always happy to engage them and to make that work. So I guess that is what I was saying. Thank you, John.
And I think, Chris, I think that answers your question perfectly as well. So, and if we look at kind of the flip side to that coin, Rupesh has a question that I think gives contrast to that. Rupesh, if you'd like to come in.
Hello there.
Hi, Rupesh, please.
Ah, right. Yeah, it's a bit dark here. Just going to switch off the video. But yeah, I was just interested in hearing from the panel about competition versus collaboration in Africa amongst the different countries. Because so often, I mean, I love the One Quantum Africa initiative, really supportive of it. But I'm just wondering how fragmented the picture really is.
And who would like to go with that one?
Perhaps I'll take a first dive. Sahar will come to cover my back. So thank you very much, Rupesh. That's a very important question. So what we have done through our work at One Quantum Africa is to manage to get people together. I want to believe, even when Sahar was sharing about how they've had conversations with the Alexandria Quantum Computing Group in Egypt, and that has led to the thinking of having, a joint effort in some way. Those are conversations that we have, given a platform to take root. Looking at things in Southern Africa, we're working very hard to do that, and this is how we have done it this time around. Perhaps this is the first platform where I'm going to talk about this. So we have actually launched 4 chapters in the local communities in Africa. After we, to reflect on the work that we've been doing, we decided to deepen our work. And in order to foster this collaboration across countries, we had to begin to build local communities in the different countries, which caters to local needs, which makes it possible for people on the ground to begin to engage and come together and find ways of moving quantum forward in the local communities. So we have got a community in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, we've got a community in Kenya, we've got a community in Libya, and we've got many other communities coming up. We've had a lot of interest, and thank you, Africa, for that. So all these are efforts to try and, as much as we are decentralizing, and which may look as if we are beginning to make this compete, but because all of these are a part of One Quantum Africa, I think it allows us to bring people more closely together. And the interest has been to remove barriers to come together. And this is not only happening at One Quantum Africa or through the community initiatives we are doing in Africa. The African Union itself has recently, most countries have ratified what we call the Africa, Continental Free Trade Area, which brings the whole of the continent under one, to be one market. And this is to break down barriers to trade. And as we break down barriers to trade, we are also breaking down barriers to collaboration. So I hope to see a lot of tangible, steps being taken, and something, which we should be able to bring back and say, this is what has happened to prove that countries are beginning to collaborate more. And under this, AFCFTA, which is the Free Continental Trade Area, there's been this whole drive to say, we have this distributed strength. If we are going to solve problems that are important for Africa and for society, which are big problems, then we can't do this in a fragmented way. We have to come together, combine forces and have this happening. So I'm having conversations with thought leaders, for example, in high performance computing. We have been saying this is the reason why we have not managed to get so much value out of high performance computing so far. It's because we operate in a fragmented way. And I'm happy to say the Center for High Performance Computing in South Africa a few weeks ago, for the first time, opened their training program in high performance computing to the rest of the continent, so that people can come on board. And I think some of these things come from the fact that because of COVID, we have had to work online. It has also accelerated these efforts or given us a platform that, lays this strong foundation for this kind of collaboration. So I'm happy to say on the ground, there are, some practical steps that are being taken by some very important agents and stakeholders, or what I will call, some very important, parts of this African community to bring people together to fight this competition amongst countries and to drive, collaboration forward. So I guess that could be the quick answer to your question, Rupesh. I hope that makes sense. So Sahar, you can perhaps take it away on anything else that I may have missed.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, Farai, that we are mostly focusing on cooperating and collaborating for now. And everyone is actually aware of that. Even when we have our discussions during the One Quantum videocast, we actually see that the experts themselves insist on how important it is to join the efforts rather than to work on national programs with no actually allies and with no cooperation. So it's actually, we are indeed like for moving the discussion forward to see that already the experts are aware of the importance of collaborative work. And we want to see that happening in terms of building projects and across the countries. So in terms of competition, I think it's too early to talk about competition in terms of in the field of quantum technologies in Africa. I don't see when that will happen. I don't know. I'm not sure at what point we can talk about the competition between the countries, maybe in terms of startups or initiatives, national initiatives. But for now, we see that the important point or the focus point that will get us forward will be rather the cooperation, the collaborative projects, rather than the competition and individual efforts. So I would say that at this stage, we will see that many countries and labs especially, so this usually happens between labs rather than countries actually. So we will see common projects and collaborative projects happening between labs from different countries. And we hope to see actually a network of labs and initiatives being launched in African countries rather than just national projects and national programs.
And we keep coming back to One Quantum Africa, so the registration details are in the chat there. And I think in these talks, one of the things that I like to sort of leave people with or progress things with is actually what your kind of your view of the future is, and also what the community can come together to further these aims. So Farai, if you want to go first.
Okay, sorry, John. I was busy posting some information in the chat. So if you don't mind, you can perhaps rephrase that question to me. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. No, I was just keen to find out what your view of the future is, what you hope will be the future for the quantum community and development in Africa, and what as a community we can do to sort of gather around and work together on that.
Thank you very much. So I guess the best thing that I can do in order to perhaps give a meaningful representation of the vision for quantum in Africa is so at One Quantum Africa, we've got 4 pillars under which we have tried to approach the community work that we do. One of them is communities. So this is where we host meetings, we have weekly calls, we connect with the global community. So under that, we are always happy to you hear speakers from across the world so that we learn more about the global quantum tech scene. We want to have experts who are going to engage with our communities so that it learns more. Some of the people we have come through, volunteered to even, partner with us to work on projects, to be mentors for the mentorship programs that we run, which is the other thing. For example, we've got a lot of young people in the continent because of the nature of our continent. 60% or so are young people, and these people need skills and education, especially in a future technology like quantum, because it is very important for them as they are part of the future workforce. And we also think that in order to solve the problems that remain in our societies, quantum is likely to be one of the tools that they have to consider, and that they need to be able to manipulate. So it's very important to develop that. So in order to develop these guys also professionally for a career in quantum, it's important that we offer mentorship to them. And for these mentorship programs, we always run short of mentors. And it will be important, we are always willing to hear from partners and volunteers to help us for example, we've got a platform that we pay for. We also would want, mentors who can come and be part of this effort on the other end and help people in the continent to develop professionally in professional career in quantum, so that they can compete at the highest level like everybody else and begin to also be absorbed by the industry, whether in Africa or abroad, that doesn't matter. But we want them to be the best they can be. Then we also have got work that we do with careers, which answers straight to what Chris was asking. We engage, these big companies like IBM, Amazon, Microsoft, because they hire so many people from the continent. And we have seen, for example, the other week, Amazon had almost up to 87 and counting jobs which are related to quantum tech. And we are saying, to quantum computing in particular, we are saying, have people from Africa also being hired for some of those and be supported to grow and succeed, so that we build a diverse ecosystem. It's important for everyone. Now more than ever, we have all realized that if we are not diverse, then there's nothing to learn. We learn from each other, and when we don't include each other in important spaces, then we are restricting the amount that we can achieve as humanity. So that is now well understood, and I think it's just about taking practical steps to do that. So we want these guys as career partners to help us to develop talent in the continent. My dream is to see young people from the continent getting jobs in the big companies and working even from Africa, because most of these companies have got research centers in Africa. Some of them are African companies who are so big, have been very successful, riding on telecoms, riding on fintech, and we want them to develop this talent and benefit from it and solve problems that are important for society. Then we've got projects where we want people in the continent to work on relevant projects for their local communities, as it would be. And we have partnered with Strange Works to do that, but we are always open to learn and get more partners, more volunteers who come and be mentors in those projects. We've got ideas on, we've got expertise on some of those areas, so that we make people work on local problems, but build the best solutions that are consistent with the best technology that is available in the ecosystem. So my vision for Africa is to see a continent that works together, that has managed to harness its distributed strength and brings that to be and solve very important problems that we would otherwise never be able to solve. And those kind of problems that quantum computing and quantum technologies promise to help us to solve.
Yeah, I think there's some powerful messages there, and that fundamental theme of sort of collaborating and all working together and we're making it happen between us, I think is a really powerful message. And you focused on the sort of practical steps. Sometimes it's those practical steps that we need to work a little bit harder on. So I think, yeah, that's certainly something that that needs to be explored a little in more detail or more regularly. And Sahar, obviously, if we can come to you and hear a little bit more about what your hopes and fears are for the future and what you see as the next step.
I'm actually very optimistic about the future of quantum technologies in Africa, because I think the work that we are currently doing is actually giving results really fast, and we are seeing really communities being built across Africa, and really we can see the interest of many younger generation to take part in quantum technologies and actually take it as a career. So we are on that way to really build the workforce in Africa, and we want to focus on the next steps, as you said, the practicals. I would say that we are still far from seeing a real ecosystem around quantum technologies and quantum computing in Africa. And why is that? Mainly because the work is still very restricted to labs. We are not seeing we are not seeing startups, for example, investing in quantum technologies. We are not seeing projects being built. We still need to see more careers and career paths